my name is Caitlin Lednam, and I am in the part-time Web 3 cohort at Western Kentucky, and I'm going to go over the on-call notebook for my cognitive linguistics class. So here is my binder, and the first part I have here is just stating that this notebook was created to provide numerous resources and activities for individuals with cognitive impairments, and basically just states that the activities in this binder respect all individuals regardless of age, ethnicity, economic status, sexual orientation, or religious beliefs. These activities are neutral and can be modified to meet the needs of the individual. And the notebook also provides activities ranging in various levels of difficulty, and some of the activities serve as a template and should be modified as necessary. So my first tab here is for memory, my first domain. I included the slums as my assessment. And I found this to be a helpful resource. It breaks down kind of the different types of memory and ways that you can target it, so some tasks or activities. The first activity I included was a picture association task, which I do a lot with the patients I'm working with currently at my medical externship. I also included sorting and remembering by category. Here is a functional memory task with paragraphs, so reading the paragraph and then asking questions and having the patient recall key events from the passage. I put following directions under memory as well. It could go under attention, but I like to cut off the bottom part sometimes, depending on the individual, and read them aloud and see if they can remember the steps to complete the task. And my next activity is with a deck of cards, and basically you would break it down, and there's an immediate memory option or there's a delayed recall option, and you have the patient draw 2 cards, ask them to remember the cards, put them down, upside down, ask the patient to recall what the cards were. For delayed, you could wait, 2 to 5 minutes and then see if they can recall the cards. The next activity I have is a memory action plan, which could be done during therapy session, and it allows the individual to kind of write down if there's areas that they're having trouble and the strategies that they could use to help them. And then there's also a section for kind of determining if they feel like they were successful, if they saw any changes. So I really like that resource. Also, I included these immediate memory for 3-word sequences. And this is actually what I tagged for my memory section. I liked this one because they're related words, so I felt like this was a little bit more simple than unrelated words. So I feel like this would be best for those who are severely impaired, having to recall 2 to 3 words. My next activity is classified ads. So just basically listening to the ad and then responding to who, what, when, why, how questions. This activity I thought was really great for memory. I know that some patients I work with do have some difficulties with remembering family members' names. So this allows them to include a picture plus a name, which I thought was really helpful. So this could be something that they could keep with them, hang it up on the fridge, or keep it in their room. So I thought that was a really great activity. And the last activity I have for memory is a grocery list, and basically it's just about, it has a little scenario. Miss Baker's trying to plan a shopping trip. She just wants to take her kids out to the park and she needs to pack a lunch, so you can kind of create a list and then have the person recall those items. My next tab is attention, and I use the MOS as my assessment. And the first activity I included is the crossing off of the numbers that are not in the correct order. And I also have one that's alternating between letters and numbers, so having to attend to that, really paying attention and switching back and forth between letters and numbers. I included 2 maze activities. One's a little bit easier than the other. I also included in my attention tab a color by number. So this one I actually this is what I tagged for more severe patient, keeping it very simple, only asking for 6 colors. And I also included one that's not quite as simple. It's asking for 9 different colors, and there's a little bit more going on in the picture. I found this activity to be very interesting. It's using bananagrams to target cognitive communication skills. It could be used for a variety of domains, but I put it under attention, specifically for just like sequencing and really taking their time to create words. My next activity is an alternating attention task, so alternating between letters and numbers. And then I have a word search. And I have 2 word searches, actually. The next activity is also using cards, but it's for attention. So it breaks it down, or you can do sorting by color, sorting by suit, sorting by number, and just having the person attend to that task. And I like that this activity also breaks it down by severity. So there's a severe, a moderate, and a mild, and they also include left neglect. So I thought that was a really great resource and activity that I am actually looking really forward to trying with some of the patients I'm working with. I also included a visual attention task under my attention tab. And if a patient, because I know I have some that have, weakness to their dominant hand, so they have a really hard time writing. So for something like this, I would just have them point with their other hand if their other hand is working okay, and just point for me, and I would just color it in for them. I also included a patterns activity, so just being able to attend long enough to know what the next color would be, or the next symbol. And the last activity I have for attention is visual scanning. So just scanning for the letters that are listed. The next section I have is visual spatial processing. And for this tab, I included the MOCA as my assessment. The first activity is this letter connection. So connecting the capitalized letter with the lowercase letter. I included a locating items task, visual reasoning. So, going through the picture and trying to see how many 2s are in the box, how many circles are in the box. This I marked as an activity for someone who is more severe. So this would just have the individual, trace and slowly lose the amount of support, is what I'm looking for, the amount of support that they're given. And then this is also an activity that I've tagged that's on the back of the tagged activity that I would use for a more severe patient. Just a very simple activity here. So just getting the bee to the flower, a maze. And the next one is spatial awareness. So this would be from probably more higher functioning individual. Kind of gives them some directions to follow, and these directions involve spatial awareness. So these boxes also get a little bit bigger. I included some blank clocks for temporal awareness, and they have times on there so that the patient can write the time in with the correct placement of the numbers and the hands. This is a visual spatial following directions task 2. It has what they want you to do, and then it gives them a space to draw it. So this one's to draw the clock, this one's to draw a snowman, and this one's actually to follow directions like touch your nose, touch your knees. My next activity is just determining which one does not belong. So having to really scan through and identify the one that's different. So I included the maps with the visual spatial tab just because, this patient would have to go through and really take their time. This is a simpler one. The directions are the questions are on the back, and just have to really scan in order to respond to the question. So, which place is south of the beach? So they have to identify the beach and then be able to recognize what is south of it. So I have 2 of those. One's a little bit more challenging. I also have the figure analogies. So this is to this, as this is to, and then they have to draw the same picture. And I also included this color copy challenge. So they color the squares to match the pictures as they see them on the top. And I also included, it came with some extra ones. So this could be one that I create or the patient creates and then have them recopy it. All right, my next tab is orientation. And for orientation, I included the GOAT assessment. GOAT assessment. And the first activity I have for this tab is, for this domain, is a calendar task. I actually have 2 calendar tasks, but they are slightly different. This one is more about like, what's the purpose of a calendar? What type of information can you find on a calendar? Who can you ask questions to regarding activities on your calendar? And then I included a calendar on the back of that. Another activity I have breaks it down a little bit further. This is planning your weekly activities. So it has a day, a time, and the activity, and a week of section. And you could have the patient, pick 2 activities. Maybe they have speech therapy and occupational therapy, the date, the time, and then what they have going on. Sorry, my dog came downstairs. The next one I have is breaking it down further into day, which I really like this one a lot because it tells the individual the day of the week, and then it breaks down the times, today's goals, so maybe the goals they want to achieve for speech therapy, a to-do list, and then at the bottom I like it because it has a meal section and then a water intake section. I made a makeshift, kind of like a template. It actually says this serves as a template and should be customized to meet the needs of the individual. So this is an orientation notebook. So creating one for the patient that breaks it down. My name is, I am blank years old, and then maybe providing a picture. My children are. My doctor is, my speech therapist is, my schedule is. So all those things could go together in the booklet. The next activity I have, I really like this because it includes some questions you can ask, kind of like a screener, and then additional questions. So I tabbed this activity for the more severe patients. This is immediate environment and recent happenings, so just yes, no questions. And these are very basic, like, are you sleeping? Are you at home? And I also have one for temporal orientation skills, so they're a little bit more challenging than the other questions. The next activity I have is titled What Time? And it has like pictures of different meal times, bedtime, and it says, what time do you blank? So the patient can fill in like, what time do you go to sleep? I go to sleep at, these clocks are really small, so I included these so the patient could write what time they, eat dinner, what time they go to bed. The next activity I have for orientation is reading a calendar. So I said it's kind of similar to the other activity, but slightly different as well because this one is specific to the calendar in the picture. So what day of the week is the first day of September on this calendar? So it would be Monday, and so forth. And my last activity is understanding, predicting, recalling time. So this breaks it down by date, and the client has to provide an appropriate time. So when would be appropriate time to eat lunch? When's an appropriate time to wake up? My last section is executive functioning, and the assessment I included was the cognitive linguistic quick test. I will try and zoom through this because I know I am going way over. I included some safety questions. I included identifying differences in pictures. This is an easier version. This is a little bit more challenging. Which does not belong. Category grid. This next activity is a functional math and writing activity. Balancing a checkbook, writing checks. You're given a bill and then they have to write a check for it and then put it in the register. I also have this counting money activity, very functional. Functional problem solving. I included level 1, 2, and 3, so it just gets a little bit more challenging. But if there's an insect in your food while you're eating at a restaurant, what would you do? So I like these questions a lot because they are very realistic. I have some more problem solving questions, but these include multiple choice options. So this would be better for patients who do need choices. They have a difficult time just coming up with it on their own. This is called the Einstein puzzle. It's basically a deduction puzzle. So the patient has to go through the clues and try and figure out, this is supposed to be a table, what person sat at what table, what color hair they had, what food they ordered, and what their drink was. So that's a level easy, and they also have a harder one. The other activity I have is sequencing. So putting basic, like this one is like putting something back together that's broken. So putting them in the right steps. And then identifying what the task is. I also included some envelopes, practicing, how to address an envelope. This would also be good for orientation, being able to write their name and their address. This activity I flagged for a more severe patient. It's shape sorting activity, so sorting these into the right column. I also have match the shapes. And then my last activity, which this could also be flagged for a more severe patient, is an ADL3 sequence. And it's kind of hard to see, but I do have them in this Ziploc bag. And it's basically 3 pictures, and they have to put them in the right order. So those are all my domains, and then I have included, I'll take them out, 5 different articles. My first one is Modern Approaches and Strategies for Prevention and Therapeutic Influence on Alzheimer's Disease. This was from a Pharmaceutical Research and Allied Science journal. So that's my first one. My next one is Healthy Cognitive Aging and Dementia Prevention. It was from the American Psychological Association, and this was from 2016. My next article is Physical Activity, Cognition, and Brain Outcomes, a review of the 2018 Physical Activity Guidelines, and it's from the American College of Sports Medicine. So just, looking at physical activity benefiting cognitive function. My fourth article is Alzheimer's Disease Prevention from Risk Factors to Early Intervention. This is from Alzheimer's Research and Therapy. And my last article is Omega-3 Fatty Acids in Early Prevention of Inflammatory Neurodegenerative Disease, a focus on Alzheimer's disease. And I believe that is all. So thank you for your time.